Ryo, where are you going? You haven't listened to the Shenmue AM2 podcast yet.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shenmue AM2 podcast. We're your hosts, Andrew.
And Matt, sorry, my mouth was full of wine.
We're keeping that, and
a bit of delay there.
And we have a very special guest with us this episode. We have the voice of Ren, the voice of Guizhang, and the voice of Fuku-san, Eric Kelso.
Hey!
Yay! Applause.
Yay. Let's do it.
He's the nicest guy. He's the nicest guy because this is actually the second time we're recording this. There was a technical hiccup the first time, and he graciously offered to do it again without hesitation. We tried to save it. We were going to Frankenstein an interview. We had his side. We didn't have our side. We were going to try to fake it. It wasn't working. But here he is back again, Eric Kelso. Thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Nice chatting with you guys. So I'm looking forward.
So our first question, what are your thoughts on Deja Vu? No, I guess we'll start with, again, thanking you for being here. This is awesome. Again.
Oh, doing anything for the Shenmue family. It's really I'm just inspired by your guys' dedication and everything. So thank you.
Awesome. So what have you been up to? You're currently in Japan.
Right.
Kind of give us an idea of, how you got to Japan and
why you went and why you stayed.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people come for a short time and they end up staying forever. It seems to be a common thing in Japan. My story, in a nutshell, as much as I can, was that I studied film studies at the University of California at Santa Barbara, UCSB. And when I graduated in 1986, I wanted to make documentaries about different cultures around the world, but I had never really been out of California. So I thought, okay, I got to get out and see the world. So my plan was to spend 10 years traveling around the world, just working and traveling and working and traveling. So I sold everything I owned. I ended up with enough money for a plane ticket and an extra $300 in my pocket. It was the bubble economy in Japan at the time, so there were jobs everywhere. The yen was strong, so I thought, okay, I'll go there for 2 years and save some money, and then I can travel through Asia for another year or two, probably, just on the savings. So I grabbed one suit that I had and one carry-on bag and headed for Japan. I had no job, no hotel reservation, no friends, nothing. But such an interesting and nice and kind and safe country that I quickly found a job, started working. But after 2 years, I didn't really have much money saved. So I thought, okay, I'll stay for another 2 years. And in that time, I started doing voice work, and I met my ex-wife, and I was just really digging Japan and just feeling just so comfortable and happy. And, it took me a while to set up shop to actually feel comfortable. I didn't want to just, leave after all that work. So I decided to stay another couple years, and that has turned into 30.
How often do you get back to the States? I assume you're from the States?
Yeah, I'm from California originally. I'm from Santa Cruz, and then went to University of Santa Barbara, so mostly Central Coast. I go back just to see my folks once a year.
Once a year, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And have you picked up much Japanese? I'm sorry, this feels weird asking all these same questions again, but we're going to have to get through it.
Yeah. Like we did it.
Yeah.
I can speak Japanese okay. I've never studied, so I can't really read or write very well. But my grammar is kind of all over the place. So, pera pera janai, demo, 普通毎日の日本語の話できます。So it's, I'm not fluent, but I can speak, basic daily Japanese, is what I say.
I know how to say, could you say that one more time slowly, please?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a pretty useful one. What else you got, Andrew?
You mentioned, again, because we're doing this again, that you had done initially some other video game work, voiceover work prior to Shenmue. both the Tekken series and the Virtua Fighter series.
And Soul Blade.
Yeah, I think I had done 2 games, as far as I can tell on my filmography kind of file, that I don't know if it's completely right or not. But in 96, I did Soul Blade. I was Siegfried Stoffen. And then in 98, I did Tekken 3. I was Paul Phoenix. And then 99 was Shenmue.
So how'd you go about getting that very first job in the video games industry?
Well, like everyone, we have many agents. So I made a voice demo, contacted agencies, and at that time there was no internet or anything, so you really had to just, really do a lot of detective work to find these out. And then one of my agents called me and said they liked my voice and they wanted me to come in and do it, and just asked my schedule. So with voice acting narration, mostly it's just your voice sample that gets you the jobs. You don't have to actually go in for a live audition.
Okay. So how did you go from wanting to make documentary films to doing voice acting?
Well, the documentary thing kind of died out because I decided, instead of traveling the world, I decided to stay in Japan and try to build a career here.
You didn't want to make a Japan-centric documentary, or?
Well, I was thinking about it, but then I just got busy with my other work and different things, and I kind of lost steam on that part of my life. And so I didn't pursue that. But I started doing television work with NHK TV and NHK Radio, which is kind of like BBC of Japan. So I was still working in the field a bit. And then as far as the voice acting, I was just teaching at the time and doing some TV and radio, but I wasn't doing any voice acting. And that just came from a buddy of mine who was doing it. And he asked me to cover a job that he had double booked one time. And I said, yeah, I guess. I don't know. Wow. Can I? And he said, yeah, you got a good voice. You can do it. And so I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I did it, and I liked it, and they liked me. And so I started, kind of building up that as my job.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, just lucky.
Yeah, a little bit of a Guizhang, or whatever they call it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
So you had done Shenmue before Virtua Fighter?
Yes. As far as I know, Shenmue, I'm looking at my filmography here. Shenmue was 99. Virtua Fighter was 2001, after Shenmue 2, I think, or right around the same year as Shenmue 2. And I think what I have on my list is I came in at Virtua Fighter at 4. But
yeah, that was kind of my next question. I think it would have been around Virtua Fighter 4, based on that time frame.
Yeah, right. And that was also with Yu Suzuki.
Yes. Yeah, he. That's kind of how he really made his bones, was through the Virtua Fighter series. Was, I guess, the big one that really
broke out
because he had done tons of arcade titles that were pretty successful. But Virtua Fighter was very revolutionary in how it, mechanics-wise, how it worked as a fighting game. Did you ever think that 20 years ago, or 20 years into the future, I guess, back then, that you'd be still talking about Shenmue?
No, not at all. I mean, it was such a blast to do. And it was unlike any other game that had ever been out there, and for the voice actors, we were just in heaven. Because, up to that point, we were just doing a lot of type of thing, and game over or something. We were just, it was just a lot of one-liners and grunts. So the Shenmue is actually something where we felt like actors. So we were just loving it. And there was no guarantee for a Shenmue 2 or 3 or anything. The first one actually didn't do that well financially. And so we didn't hear about any possibility of it too. And then that came a couple years later, and we were really stoked about that.
What's your next one?
At the time, was it really prevalent that this was going to be something special?
Well,
like I said, we didn't really know. We knew it was amazing. I mean, it was in the Guinness Book of World Records, the most expensive game ever made. It had dozens of different voice actors doing, 100 different parts. And it was just such a huge project. So we knew it was special, but we didn't know if it would have legs to continue into the future up until this point at all.
Yeah, it's hard to predict what is and what isn't going to attract a cult following.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially something that's so different.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where someone like Corey, where he was voicing the same character in the first game to the second game, you did the three major voices that you did were Guizhang, Ren, and Fuku-san. Was it more direction from the producers that they came up with kind of how they wanted the voices to be, and then you kind of just put it out there and they tweaked it, or I guess what's the process for creating?
Yeah,
those voices?
that's basically it. What they do is they give you the script, and then it has kind of a character analysis, a background for the character. And then they just kind of say, okay, well, this guy is like Fuku-san. They say, okay, this guy is, he's in the same dojo with Ryo, and he's kind of his kohai, he's lower than Ryo. And he really respects Ryo, and he looks up to him, and I got the feeling almost like he was kind of his puppy dog, in a way, a very loyal, loving person. And they said he's really a sweetheart, and not weak, but just kind of sensitive and very loving and loyal. And so I kind of got that in my head, and then I gave them some voices, and they said, okay, make it a little bit softer, or make it a little bit this way. And so I just started speaking like this, and I said, well, how is this? What do you think about this voice? Is this one okay? And they said, well, maybe a little bit more this way or that way. And then that's how I came up with Fuku-san, who's just really a good guy and just wants the best for Ryo. He worries about him a lot, so I just did that, and they go, hey, that's it. That's what we want.
Now, have you ever used that voice for another character, or a similar voice for another character in another project?
Yeah, for animation, sometimes I'll make it like this, and then I'll kind of tweak it out a little bit and make it a little more like this. So you can kind of work them around a little bit. With Guizhang, I just thought of him as like the Chinese Clint Eastwood. And I just thought he's just cool on ice. And his jacket never comes unbuttoned. And he just doesn't open his mouth very much. Guizhang is just like this. He just doesn't talk too much, doesn't say too much, doesn't feel too much, but he's always there. And so I thought he's just like Clint.
Yeah, that's
very gritty, talking through the teeth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Off my lawn. Now, did they ask you back for Shenmue 2?
Wait, I want to hear about Ren. How'd you come up with Ren?
Okay, well, that would be Shenmue 2. Yeah, they asked me back for Shenmue 2.
Oh, I guess I was getting there.
That does segue. And then, Fuku-san and Guizhang were not there anymore, but they asked me back for Ren. And that was really fun. Because although I really loved both Fuku and Guizhang, Ren was just a whole different kind of guy. And he had more lines and more action, and he was more pivotal in the story as well. So, and there was more recording days, actually, I think, for that character. And Ren, I guess personally, I feel kind of the closest personality-wise to Ren as well. So for Ren, they just said, okay, now Ren's leader of a gang, cocky son of a bitch, doesn't really care about anybody else, even his gang members. Very sarcastic, and just has kind of a screw it kind of attitude. And that's kind of fun for an actor, is to play that kind of part. And so I just, I gave him kind of the voice and different things. And I said, well, yeah, okay, well, what do you think about this voice? So, and if you don't like it, I don't really care. And so just kind of gave him some attitude. And they go, no, we like it. We like that one. So that's how Ren came about.
Now, did you have to audition for Ren, or did they want you specifically for Ren?
No, for all parts. They just said, we want you, and you're doing this part.
Nice.
So I guess somehow they were able to get that from my voice demo. And maybe they, from Shenmue 1, maybe Suzuki-san, hearing me do Fuku-chan and Guizhang, maybe he thought somehow he saw Ren in there as well, I guess.
Okay. And we established previously in the previous interview that you feel closest to Ren because you did used to run a gang.
Yes. We really, yes. We were the heavens. We were the hells. So, yeah.
Eric of Hells.
Eric of Hells, yeah.
Was it pretty cool working with Corey, Liesl, and Paul on both games?
Yeah. So Liesl and Paul and I had been friends already, just because it's such a small clique of voice actors in Japan, English voice actors. So we knew each other. We'd bump into each other's studios or work together at jobs. And so we were old buddies. And and both those guys are great. Liesl's just such a sweetheart, so fun and funny and cool. And then Paul is just a lunatic, so it's just so fun to work with both those people. And then Corey was the new kid in town. He was brought over specifically for Ryo. And he was a bit younger, and I think it was his first time in Japan. Or he might have been here once before, I'm not sure. But, I did most of my recording with Corey or alone, and only a little bit with Liesl. And I don't think I was actually in the studio with Paul at all. And, we had a great time.
And just to give our listeners some background, Paul Lucas, who will be on a future episode, he did the voice of Lon D, he did the voice of Chai, and the voice of Larry, who was one of your cronies, I guess.
And you previously told us about a funny anecdote that happened when you and Corey were recording the scenes where you were chained together.
Yeah, I really enjoyed recording a lot with Corey, and we actually went out to dinner and had drinks together, and we became kind of buddies, went hang out as well. So we did form a camaraderie, and our characters, we kind of ended up being kind of the same as our characters. I was a little bit more of an old hand in Japan, and I was a little bit wilder, and he was a bit younger and a little bit more innocent. So we kind of adapted to our characters pretty easily. And in the studio, we would have a good combination of our energies, and the scenes where we were actually handcuffed together were interesting. They were fun. I think we actually even held hands, and we were standing right next to each other. So as we're running and shouting, "Come on!" and "Let's go!" that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We were actually pulling each other and grabbing, so we actually got the feeling in our voices. And we would actually be like moving, so we'd actually kind of be breathing hard, and it was exciting. And we're watching the screen, right? We're watching the animation on the screen of the characters, what they're doing. So it was a real adrenaline rush as we were actually running and fighting and things. It was exciting.
Now, do you know if, like you said, you had to record to probably the game in Japanese? I imagine just muted or something. You had to match the lip flaps, but Andrew, maybe in the end, did they actually animate the mouths to go with the English voices? I think they did, didn't they?
I think they did.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we watched them, and we have to match. I don't know if there were lip flaps or not. There were actually lip flaps, or was just the timing of on the screen. But we didn't hear any Japanese. We just had to say our lines, and it had to match the timing of the edit of the characters on screen.
Right. And I imagine you don't even have any music or sound effects or anything. It's probably just mute.
Yeah, nothing. There was nothing. That all came later. Mm. Yeah. And sometimes there was no video. There was, and so I would say probably only about 50% of it had image, and then 50% they hadn't made yet. So we have to say. But if you're playing the game and sometimes the excitement level doesn't quite match, that's why. Because the line would be like, "Come on, let's go," with an exclamation point. Yeah. But there's no video. So then I would say, "Come on, let's go," but then they punctuated it wrong, because when you look at the actual video, it's just kind of Ren just kind of standing there and just turning and walking out of the room, where it should be, "Come on, let's go."
Yeah.
But he's like, "Come on, let's go," and it's like, wait, that doesn't match the action. And so a lot of it, we didn't have the action. So we didn't really know about the intensity levels and things.
That's okay for Ren. He's a a volatile, unpredictable guy. He's very moody.
When you recorded for Shenmue 2, at that point in time, did you know it was only going to be the English version for the Xbox, or did they intend to have the English version for the Dreamcast still at that point in time?
We didn't know the platforms at all.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. We just went into the studio, had a script, read our lines, the director said, do it, that's great, or do it a little bit differently, and then we walk out. So it's not really our area.
Now that Shenmue 1 and 2 HD has been announced, a lot of new fans, new people are going to be introduced to your work. What's that feeling for you that something from nearly 20 years ago is resurfacing to a whole new audience?
I think it's great. And I think it's amazing that, the storyline is just so good. There's nothing else. I don't think there's anything better out there in the past 20 years that has the same kind of storyline. That, so that's endless. It's like my favorite movies are the old movies from, like the 60s and 70s. So I think that really holds up still. And I think that's going to be appealing to a lot of people. And it's not just like, people just killing each other and stealing cars and shooting and spaceships and stuff. And actually it has a storyline to it, and it's like a movie. So I really think that's still going to be quite appealing. The HD version, I think, is wonderful because, the effects now are just staggeringly different than they were 20 years ago. So I'm glad that they could make it look nicer. And I think that will be nicer for younger people who are used to just crystal clarity on everything since they were born.
Yeah, that and the updated control scheme will be the things that'll keep new players in who may have been turned off before by some of the older systems. But speaking of story, do you have any... I imagine you don't have any insight into where the story's going, but do you have any hopes or dreams for your three characters and where you'd like to see them go?
Actually, I have heard absolutely nothing about the game. I don't know. I've heard you guys speculate about some things on your previous podcasts that is much more than I know about. So I would look to you for advice and information on characters. They haven't contacted me at all. I've heard that Corey's been contacted, but there's still no set dates on anything, I think. And I'm just waiting. Liesel's waiting. Paul's waiting. I made sure not to take any vacation, plan any vacation this year, because I want to keep my schedule open.
That's dedication.
Yeah. So we contact each other about once a month. Just say, hey, what's up? You heard anything? So we're ready. We're hyped and we're stoked and we're all on board for it. But we're just waiting to hear. It's such a big project and it's going to take some time. So I think the initial dates were a bit optimistic. So I think it might take a bit of time. But we're ready and hope to hear something soon.
I really think everyone on our end, fan base wise, definitely wants all of you back.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same. Again, we talked about this when we recorded yesterday, how it's a bit different when they recast an actor that you can see. Because if I see someone different playing, someone in a sequel to an original piece of work, if they look different, my mind automatically thinks they're going to sound different. With a video game, you mentioned it's the same Ryo.
Yeah.
So if I see Ryo and it's in English, I want to hear Corey Marshall's voice. That's the only voice I associate with Ryo. And I think everyone would do the same with all of these other characters. I want you to be Ren. I don't want someone impersonating you as Ren.
Yeah, it's like if they suddenly changed Bart Simpson's voice or something.
Yeah.
It wouldn't feel right.
Well, that actually, with The Simpsons, was it Harry Shearer a couple seasons ago, it was between seasons. They hadn't even started recording, and he kind of stepped away from it, and fans were like, no, we need him back. He's one of the 6 main voice actors.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it got to the point where he was kind of wished back into existence in the show. He decided to come back, and I really hope that's the same scenario for this the third game coming out.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't, because it's much easier just to use us than to find somebody who could match the voice.
Yeah.
We already can do the voice, and we're here. And they know, especially because people like you who keep everything alive and on the low simmer here, just waiting to be cooked. That they know we're out there. They know we want to do it. They know we're ready and we're up to date and we're keeping in touch. So I would see no reason why they wouldn't. But I wish they would at least contact us a little bit and just to see if we're still available or alive or something. But
yeah. Andrew's looking through his questions.
Yeah. We did have a couple of fan questions as well.
Sure.
One thing that I guess we'll save those towards the end. One thing that we used to do whenever we had a guest on was we had this gimmick where we had a time machine and we would go back and have that person in 1999 sell Shenmue to someone. We don't need to do that anymore. We're getting that again in the future. So how would you sell someone on this game, this piece of entertainment, if they, were on the fence about it?
I would say, do you like video games? Video games are great, and if you like them, you gotta try this one, because it's not only action, you can do it like you do in the dojo, and you can really get experience from fighting, but also, it's about friendship, and you can talk to people, and make friends, and see how they interact together. I don't need friends. Who needs friends? I just want to get in there, kick a little ass, make a little coin, just have some fun. But also, when you're in there, you're going to love being in there. It's going to be, and you're going to want the next one and the next one as well. So play this one first, and you'll see what I mean.
Oh man, I love Guizhang, selling Shenmue. That's great. all of them really, but I never expected it from Guizhang.
Sega marketing department, if you're listening.
Yeah. That was amazing. Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
Yeah, you're the first person to do that as someone.
In character.
Yeah. Well, he's the first one who's had characters to do, I guess. But...
Yeah, when you got 3, it's kind of more fun to draw from.
Yeah.
It's nice that there's 3 very different characters. You asked me that yesterday, and I was really happy that I got 3 different characters.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes you're asked to do 3 high school kids. We want 3 high school guys, they're all 15 years old or something. And it's really hard to make it different. But if you're asked to do a little kid and a very old man, something like that, it's more fun. You know where to go. So that my 3 different characters were all very different. Made it much easier and more interesting for me.
And you do remember doing a few side characters, like random lines, right?
Yeah, random thug or, some guy on the docks or, in a restaurant or something. Yeah.
And you said that a fan had actually discovered a couple of those and pointed them out to you.
Yeah, Brett, actually. He asked me, he was putting together some things, and he said, was this you? And a couple of guys from a couple of different scenes. And I had to listen really carefully. I'm like, yeah, I think that was me. So, because you don't remember doing them. They're just quick little tags. They go, oh, by the way, can you read this one line?
Right. Do you remember any of those voices?
No, I don't. They didn't even have names of the characters or anything. Yeah.
You don't remember Dock Worker 17? Come on. So some of the questions we get from fans were, obviously, a lot of them were related to whether or not you're doing Shenmue 3. We know that. Well, yeah, we've touched on that. Drinking buddy. Which of the 3 would you most likely to, share a beer with?
I think Fuku-chan would be fun just to kind of hang out and talk to. I think he'd probably pass out after his first drink. Ren would probably be the funnest to go out drinking with, but you'd probably end up in a bar fight and arrested.
Yep.
And Guizhang would be kind of cool just to knock back some really good whiskey with, and maybe a cigar or something.
Yeah, that's who I would have chose as well. Just a nice, nice fire, nice big comfy chairs, some whiskey, a cigar, smoking jacket, the whole thing.
Smoking jacket.
Just hanging out with low-key Guizhang.
Right, and then you do shots with Ren.
yeah, and end up in jail.
Right.
having a whiskey with Guizhang, be like, you know what? After this, we got to go fight 70 guys in a row. And if the three of them were in a fight, who walks out?
Who wins and how do they win?
Well, I think they would be nice to Fuku-san and just kind of put him out of his misery pretty quickly, without too much pain. He would have the guts. He'd hang in there. He'd try his best. But I think he's still in such training that I don't think he could quite hang the distance. Ren would think he would win, and he'd be real cocky about it. And then Guizhang, I think, would just kind of lessen him, kind of teach him, put him in his place a bit towards the end. But I think Ren versus Guizhang would be a good fight. And they both have a bit different style. And but somehow I think Ren might get a bit emotional, and Guizhang would kind of use that to his advantage.
We did have one question too. It's just something along the lines of, we all know Fuku-san's the real hero of the story, right?
Well, he's the heart, Mm-hmm. He's the heart that keeps everything beating. He was at the beginning. I think without his friendship and love for Ryo, Ryo might not be the man who he is. And we wouldn't have a story.
Just when you were describing how that fight would go, I just pictured it in my mind, and I pictured Fuku-san doing my favorite Fuku-san line, which is, don't use that move. When you just you completely destroy him with an elbow in the back of the head, and he's like, you're killing me.
Ow!
Yeah. All right, what's next?
I think that's it for questions regarding the game. Do you currently have any projects on the go?
I'm working. Well, I'm in the studio almost every day doing something, whether it's a corporate video or some kind of animation or TV thing, advertising. I've got two regular TV series I'm working on right now. One is called Who I Am, which is on Wow Wow, which is kind of like Japanese HBO. And that's about Paralympic athletes around the world. So it's kind of a bio of different Paralympic athletes and their careers and what they're doing, which is really inspiring and interesting and really well made. Another regular show I have, it's on almost every day, that's called Ego de Asabo with Orton. And that's kind of like, it's on NHK, which is kind of the Japanese BBC. And it's kind of like the Japanese version of Sesame Street for teaching English to little kids. And it's called Ego de Asabo, which means playing with English, with Orton. And Orton is a giant comic whale. And he's kind of the host of the show. And I'm Orton. So it's like, okay, kids, today's sound is bag, that kind of thing. And so that's fun. And personally, I just released an app that I co-created called The English Game. And that's for people who are studying English or teaching English. And it's real fun. It has 12 different categories like vocabulary and numbers and idioms and regional and spelling and slang and all kinds of different fun stuff in English. And you can find that at The English Game, theenglishgame.co is our website, or you can find it on iTunes. And this summer I'll be releasing a book I wrote that's just a really short, simple book that's called Ericisms. And over the past few years, sometimes I just say things, and my friends say, "Oh, that's an Ericism," and it's just stupid things, my idea about life or something. So they said I should write them down, so I did, and I collected 100 of them, and I'm putting them in a book with Japanese translation as well. And the title is just Ericisms, Thoughts on Life That Spill Out of My Mouth from Time to Time.
That's great.
And so it's translated into Japanese as well. So I'm going to do a narration. I'm going to have an audio book as well that goes with it. And then I'll voice each one, and then it'll be followed by a Japanese narrator reading it as well. So people who are studying English or studying Japanese, it can help either way.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
So are they like inspirational, or are they just funny, like just observations? Or?
Kind of inspirational and funny. Some of them are very serious about life and kind of words to live by in a way, and some of them are just kind of goofy observations. I have a couple here that I found. You asked yesterday if I had any. I found 3 that might be a little bit interesting. They're very short, just 2 or 3 lines.
Okay.
And I'm going to do them. I'm thinking when I record them as well, I'll try to do them as characters, so it might add a little bit more, interest to the audio version.
Yeah.
So let me give you the first one here. Every sperm that outswims the millions of other sperm to make a life is a champion. Therefore, every person contains champion DNA.
That's pretty good. That would make me feel bad, or not bad. That made me feel good about myself if I was feeling bad. I at least won 1 contest.
Right. So you're born a winner.
Yeah.
Another one.
Born winner. That's a good one.
That's right, born winner.
Put on a t-shirt.
Yeah. Here's another one that's laughter is our hearts farting. The joy is inside, and it has to come out.
I love that one. I might use that one on my nieces.
Hey, your heart just farted. But they're not all about like bodily functions. Some other ones are, for example, here's another one. Otaku are lucky because no matter what happens in life, they always have something to be excited about and look forward to.
That's true. There's always more anime.
Right. There's always something. I wish I were more otaku. I have things I'm interested in, like movies and cooking and my girlfriend. And, I have things that charge me up in life that I'm really excited about. But I think for otaku, there's like, no matter what, there's always something to kind of think about when you're going to sleep at night and when you wake up in the morning, and to look at the internet or get the magazine or something that just keeps you so excited. And I think that's kind of the key to happiness in life in a lot of ways, is just to find one thing. It doesn't even have to be important, but just one thing that just charges you.
Yeah. I think Andrew's found his.
The wine that you're drinking right now.
What was that?
Is it the wine that you're drinking right now?
Oh, that's mine. Andrew's is Shenmue. Mine is wine. Yeah.
Okay.
Our new podcast, Wine and Shenmue.
Yeah.
Just me going on and Matt drunken rant.
Yeah.
Matt does a great drunken the stumbly guy from the first game.
If you've ever seen Rio walking along the street and he talks to a certain character, and the guy, he's like, are you okay? And he's like, I'm okay. And he's like, are you sure? I'm just fine and dandy. I love that character. Anyways,
he's the real hero of the story.
Yes. I actually had some questions when you brought up the English program that you're on for children.
Yeah.
How long has that been on?
The Eigo de Asabu program has been on for at least like 20 years.
And you've been on
it? A good friend of mine, Eric Jacobson, was the main guy on there for almost 20 years. And he would play guitar and sing songs for kids, and he traveled all over Japan doing filming things and doing events and stuff. And then just about a year ago, they changed the format, and I'm the main voice animation character. And then there's another American guy who's pretends to be like a professor, and he wears a lab coat and he plays with the little kids on the set, and they do different pronunciation lessons and things.
So,
but it's been a long time.
Okay, but it's only been about a year for you?
It's been about a year or two for me. It's my second year for me. But I used to do like character voices for their little skits and animations they would have. Like Sesame Street has little vignettes and things.
Yep.
So this has the same thing. So I've been doing vignettes, little characters and stuff for about 20 years. But this is my first time as one of the main characters.
Nice. Are you looking forward to many years from now when somebody recognizes you and they're like, oh my god, you're Orton, I grew up with you?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. I know I used to do the #1 English conversation teaching program in Japan, was called Radio Eikaiwa, which is radio conversation. And I did that for 2 years as the guest host, as the co-host. And that was on every day, like twice a day. We had over 1 million listeners a day, loyal listeners who bought the textbooks and would call in and write in and things. And that my face was actually on the textbook and things like that. So at that time, people would, come up to me on the train or on the street and ask for an autograph and stuff, and that was kind of fun. But mostly it's just my voice. So people don't really know who I am. But if I say what I do as a voice, then they kind of get excited. Or, I do a lot of different TV commercials in Japan, like the voice tag logo and things. So if I do like that for someone, basically everyone in the country has heard that voice. So then they're, they go crazy. But mostly people don't know who I am. So it's kind of nice that way.
Do you enjoy the anonymity of it sometimes?
Yeah, I do. I'm not really social person. I don't really go to parties or like to be well known or perform on stage or anything like that. So the recording booth is good for me. I would rather just have people not know who I am and just do my job. Are
you sure you're not more like Guizhang than Ren?
Yeah, probably. And so I've never wanted to be really like famous or well known or anything like that. But it's nice to be appreciated. It's nice when you tell people what you do and they go, "Oh, I love that. That's great." That feels really good.
So do many Japanese children like watch these English learning programs for fun, or are they forced to? How's it go usually?
I think the programs are really fun. So I don't think the kids would be bored or feel like it's a task at all. I think parents who are interested in their kids learning a bit of English, which seems to be almost every parent, because they're even starting English education now in elementary schools in Japan.
Oh wow!
So that just started about a year ago.
Is that to lead up to the Olympics that are supposed to be there? They want. I heard they're trying to add more English around the country.
They definitely are, with signs and English menus and things like that, and websites and things. They've needed to have English at a younger age for a long time. So it's been kind of a long train coming. But I think also the coming Olympics has inspired it as well.
Yeah, I've heard many Japanese people, they might be able to understand your English, but they're not very comfortable speaking it.
Yeah, well, Japanese on the whole are pretty shy people.
Yeah.
And so that's hard. And it's hard for them just to have confidence enough to speak, even if they can't. But also, speaking is not really taught much in school. It's mostly reading and writing and grammar and things like that, so they can take a test to enter the next, junior high school. They take a test to enter high school. They take a test to enter university. And then once you enter university, it's pretty easy. So they study more grammar and reading and comprehension that way for the test taking, not as much conversation. But it's changing. It's getting better. They're doing more conversation now. So, 30 years ago when I came to Japan, people didn't speak English. But now, quite a few people do. So it's not so hard now. If you come to Japan and you can't speak Japanese, you can get by.
Well, that's cool. I hope to go to Japan someday, and maybe I'll just wait till they all know my language.
But anybody who's listening to this, anybody who wants to come, if you come, drop me a line and we'll have a drink together. I've already done that with quite a few people. And actually, James is coming on Wednesday. We're going to go out and get some shabu-shabu with some of his friends that are coming. Nice. And Brett is already here. We've worked with. He's going to go. A lot of Peter was here. A lot of really main players in the Shenmue community have come. And I was really lucky to have a chance to hang out with them, have a bite and a drink, and just talk about all things Shenmue.
Now, have you done the Shenmue pilgrimage where you go to Dobuita Street in Yokosuka?
I haven't. No, I haven't. Yeah, I'll do someday.
Yet. I'm sure if James or Peter ever back,
they'll drag you there.
Drag you there, yeah.
I have had the opportunity to meet James in person. He lives in New Jersey, and my wife and I were vacationing in New York City, and we went out and did a night at the barcade and had some drinks and some food, and it was a really fun night. And I'm assuming it's Pete Campbell that you're referring to.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be. They just seem like regular people, like that we share this huge common interest in, and they really have the passion too.
Yeah, little community we got going.
Really nice guys. Like like Peter, I was asking him about, he knows a lot about, computers and things, websites and different things. And I asked him about my Wikipedia page because somebody had told me I should put that up, have that put up. And he goes, I'll put it for you. And I'm like, really? That seems like it's a lot of work. He goes, no, just send me the stuff. I'll put it up for you. And a week later, it was up and running and beautiful and everything. And he's like, no problem. Nice. Such a nice guy. And then Brett also is here. He's doing software work and programming. And I needed to finish making my app, the English game. And he reformatted that, did everything for me, and gave me a really good price on it, and was very easy to work with, very professional. And just through Shenmue, I met two really cool guys that have really helped me a lot. That's so awesome. It really is. It feels like a family, which is nice.
Cool. Yeah, it's we've had great luck with people.
People sending us cool things in the mail and stuff.
Yeah, and having a contact in Japan, being able to send us things, and when this, Shenmue 3 and HD come out, we can, is it quid pro quo? That's the thing?
Yep.
We send stuff and they send stuff, and we've had someone from, I think, Finland redo all of our graphics. It's been fantastic having this help out there.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to about wrap things up. Where can people find you on social media, Eric?
You can find me at erickelso.com, which also has links on there to my IMDb site and my Wikipedia page. You can Facebook me if you like, if you haven't already. And if you just Google Eric Kelso, ERICKELSO, on just Google it, a lot of stuff comes up. And there's a lot of contact information. And like I said, if anybody actually takes the time, makes the effort to do the pilgrimage all the way to Japan, please contact me, and the first beer is on me.
Awesome. I just sent you a friend request on Facebook. All right, so we good?
Yeah, you can find us on the social media. We are Shenmue AM2 Pod, or at Shenmue AM2 Pod on Twitter. Shenmue AM2 Podcast at gmail.com. We are on Facebook. We have a group. We have a page. Yeah, we're everywhere. Huge thank you to Eric for doing this with us twice.
Yeah.
You guys. And thank you for having a podcast. Thank you for doing this all the time. It's a lot of work. People don't realize how much work it is to do a podcast.
Yeah.
And it's all day, every day kind of thing. And thank you for doing that. That really means a lot to everyone in the community. And I consider myself a member of the community as well. So thank you.
Oh, thanks for saying that. That means a lot coming from you.
Yeah.
My final are you done, Andrew?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that once hopefully you are involved with Shenmue 3, it's done. We would love to have you on as a guest after that in the future.
Talk about that experience. Yeah. And my final two questions. Once again, what was for breakfast this morning?
Nothing yet. I was waiting for you guys.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. I was doing some work at home. It's 11:30 right now, and after this, I'm going to go out and do some shopping. Don't know what I'm going to have yet.
For reference, he had a pork dish yesterday.
Pork and rice yesterday.
Yeah, I slow cooked some pork a couple days ago, and I put that on top of some fried rice, and that was my breakfast yesterday.
I will tweet the photo that you were just kind enough to send me.
It's like, it was good.
And my final question, is there anything we need to know from the future? Any world events, earth-shattering revelations that have happened?
It will be cloudy tomorrow.
Oh, no.
Cloudy tomorrow, yeah. But the world has not ended yet, so you can sleep soundly.
All right. Well, thank you so much once again. And
okay, thanks.
We'll be in touch, I'm sure.
We'd like to thank our sponsor this week, Yokosuka Harbor Trading Company.
We would be much obliged if you would join us at our warehouse in the Yokosuka Harbor, if you can find it.
I just want to buy stuff. Quit it with the cryptic passwords, the guards. The same flashlight fell on me 5 days in a row. I'm not buying your stuff.